joining us on such short notice. We're here to address the shooting incident involving federal agents in Southeast Portland earlier this afternoon. We have a number of speakers, including Mayor Keith Wilson, Governor Tina Kotek, and many others who I will let introduce themselves as they come to the podium. We'll begin with Chief Bob Day, who will share some details about the shooting and then some of those remarks of his, and we'll go on from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going to share just a few details. As you're aware, this is still very active investigation, so information is limited and won't be speaking to a lot of specifics. But what I can say is that approximately 2:18 this afternoon, Portland police officers responded to the 10,000 block of Southeast Main Street on the report of a shooting. So it came in via a 911 call. Officers confirmed that federal agents had been involved in a shooting. Portland police were not involved in that incident. About 6 minutes later, at 2:24 p.m., officers received information once again through dispatch that a man who had been shot was calling and requesting help in the area of Northeast 146th and East Burnside. Our officers responded. We found a male and a female with apparent gunshot wounds. Officers applied a tourniquet and summoned emergency medical personnel. The patients were transported to local hospital, and their conditions at this time are unknown. Officers had determined that the two people who were injured in the shooting involving the federal agents from the earlier call. PPB officers secured both scenes, and this is a federal investigation. It's being led by the FBI. We have been in touch with them. We are, in regular contact. This is their responsibility, but when we have these type of events happen in the city, Portland Police Bureau does offer level of assistance. This is not any way, shape, or form immigration related on our end. We do not know the facts of this case. We are simply providing that traditional investigative support and perimeter support, which is minimal. But I do want to make it clear that we are out there, but we are not involved in immigration. And we at this time do not know if this is an immigration related event. We do not know which federal, as we know, there are many federal agencies serving in the city of Portland right now. So as I said, it's a complex situation with a lot of different information coming out, but Portland Police is on the scene, the detectives, etc. I want to say, that I'm saddened that we are here once again in a difficult, challenging, complex situation, but I'm also incredibly grateful for Portlanders. I'm grateful for the way that we have continued to show up over the past year, and we have certainly been tested, and this is no small circumstance. The uncertainty and the fear and the sadness within our community is real, and as the Chief Law Enforcement of the City of Portland, I recognize that, our members recognize that, and we are doing everything in our power to maintain that level of peace and calm and safety. And I want to thank Portlanders who have continued to show up in this space as well, and hopeful that they will do so over the next couple of days, as I'm expecting many to want to express their frustration and disappointment with events today. As I said, this is early on. We do not know the cause, but we are engaged, and hopefully we'll have more information as the evening unfolds. I'm going to turn it over now to Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Chief. And I just want to also just reiterate what he had talked about the city standing tall and really standing together. And I've been before you already too many times under these circumstances, but I'm grateful that every time I do make the call within such a short period of time, that the Madam Governor will answer the call, and all of the individuals standing behind me and all of our elected officials and community leaders are standing with us as well. And we've always stood together, and we will continue to stand together. Just one day after the horrific violence in Minnesota, our community here in Portland was witness to a moment of fear, confusion, and heartbreak. Earlier this afternoon, 2 people were shot and injured by federal agents in the Hazelwood neighborhood. Violence in our community is devastating. These are not statistics. These are human beings. Portland is not a training ground for militarized agents. When the administration talks about using full force, We are seeing what it means on our streets. The consequences are not abstract. They are felt in hospital rooms and living rooms, in the quiet moments when families try to make sense of what happened, what is happening. We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past. That is why we are calling on ICE to halt all operations in Portland until a full and independent investigation can take place. Our community deserves answers. Our community deserves accountability. And most of all, our community deserves peace. Earlier today, I spoke with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry. We shared not just our concerns, but our grief for the families who are suffering and grief for the recklessness of our federal government. The administration is trying to divide us, to pit communities against one another, to make us fear one another. Portland, this is a moment to hold each other close, to stand together, to remember that our strength has always come from community, compassion, and solidarity. Yesterday, Governor Walz made an appeal to all of us. Today, I want to say clearly that we stand with Minneapolis, we stand with Minnesota, we stand with Chicago, we stand with LA. We stand with every community that is hurting in our nation, every family that is afraid, every person who feels unseen or unheard. ICE agents and their Homeland Security leadership must fully be investigated and held responsible for the violence inflicted on the American people in Minnesota, in Portland, and in all the communities across America. The Federal Protective Service claims values such as service, integrity, honor, and vigilance. This is the moment to live those values, not behind masks, not through intimidation, but through transparency, accountability, most of all, humanity. So thank you. I'd like to turn it over to the governor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Day. Good evening, Oregonians. We are standing here today united as a state, wanting peace and safety in our communities. We are all shaken and outraged by another terrible, unnecessary, violent event instigated by the reckless agenda of the Trump administration. This time in our own state, in our largest city, coming just one day after the tragedy in Minnesota. While the details of the incident remain limited, one thing is very clear. When a president endorses tearing families apart and attempts to govern through fear rather than shared values, you foster an environment of lawlessness, recklessness. Trust is essential to maintaining community safety and the rule of law. Federal agents at the direction of the Department of Homeland Security are shattering trust. They are hurting people and they are destroying day by day what we hold dear, our sense of safety and our literal safety are severely undermined by what happened this afternoon in Portland. I'm so thankful that no one died and more people weren't hurt. The Attorney General and other leaders have been clear about our concerns with the excessive use of force by federal agents in Portland. And today's incident only heightens the need for transparency and accountability. Oregonians deserve clear answers. And I am aligned with Mayor. The priority right now is a full, completed investigation, not more detentions. My message to the federal government is this: we demand transparency. We demand your cooperation with Portland Police and the Multnomah County DA, because we need to investigate this incident efficiently and effectively so we can rebuild trust with our nation's government. There are those who want to cause chaos, but Oregonians know how to stand up and speak out peacefully. We must remain united in peaceful opposition to efforts to tear our community apart. We must not turn against each other. We must stand neighbor to neighbor. We must not take the bait. And I want to end by saying I'm grateful to the first responders who have been managing this incident today here in Portland. And we stand united with Americans across our country and with Minneapolis and Minnesota in light of these very troubling events. Thank you. I'd now like to hand over the podium to Senator Casey Jama, Democratic leader in the Oregon Senate.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Senator Casey Chama. I also serve as the Senate Majority Leader. I live Hazelwood neighborhood. The incident took place not that far where I live in my home. I'm raising my 2 children and live with my wife. I have a few messages, but let me start to say this one first. My prayer is to the families and those who are hurt, and I hope they will recover speedily. As I said, I have been in the country about 28 years and I'm a former refugee. I have never thought I would see this moment in the United States of America. This is a challenging time for us. My colleagues and I are working together to ensure that we address this issue at the state legislative level. We want to do as best as we can to protect the Oregonians who are fearful, who are scared, who are facing persecution under federal law. So we're going to introduce quite a number of bills that will be trying to minimize the impact of ICE in our community. I'm outraged and angry and frustrated, as many Oregonians are. Let me speak to Oregonians. I share your frustration. And immigrant refugee community, let me talk directly to them. I share your fear. I share your challenges that we're all facing. And I know that the struggle is real. Let me say this to the Oregonians. Oregonians are welcoming. State of Oregon is welcoming state. We want to keep that way. We want to fight for that. We want to work hard for that. And we want to make sure that all Oregonians feel welcome. Let me say to this, to the federal agencies and the ICE. This is Oregon. We do not need you. You're not welcome. You need to get the hell out of our community. Now I want to turn to the podium to Multnomah County Chair Jessica Figabert Peterson.
Good evening, everyone. If we were living in anything close to normal times, we would not be here right now. We should not be here right now because federal agents should not be in Portland neighborhoods shooting people. We should not be here right now because Renee Nicole Good should be alive and with her family in Minnesota right now. I want everyone to know that Multnomah County stands united in support of our immigrant and refugee neighbors and everyone opposing this injustice. I am proud to be joined tonight by Commissioner Moyer, Commissioner Edwards, and Commissioner Jones-Dixon. Enough is enough. The terror and violence ICE is causing in our neighborhoods must end now. At this moment, we don't know what precipitated the incident, the circumstances that led to the shooting, or the identities of people involved. The FBI will be leading the investigation, and they need to allow local law enforcement to participate, and they need to be transparent and accountable to local governments. We know that this news is incredibly alarming and upsetting. We know what happens today speaks to a fear that we have had since last fall when federal law enforcement and immigration agents first increased their presence in our community. Multnomah County will not stand by as federal governments attack our neighbors. Just this morning, our board unanimously voted to extend an emergency declaration in response to the ongoing harm of ICE activity, and we will keep showing up in every way that we can. During our vote, I shared that over the holidays, my office received a string of emails and calls from neighbors in the Brentwood-Darlington neighborhood who are asking for help to find 2 neighbors who were kidnapped by federal agents the day after Christmas. Both of these people are the primary breadwinners for their families, and their children attend the local elementary school. As a parent, my heart breaks for their families and the whole community that has been impacted by these cruel actions. Add to this the horrific murder of Renee Nicole Good in Minnesota, the dozens of lives that have been lost in ICE detention this year, and now a shooting here in Portland. And we can only conclude that this federal activity is a threat to our entire community and is a threat that is growing every day. In light of this, our community is calling on us to act, to deploy resources to support the families impacted by federal activity, and to do all that's in our power to ensure the safety of neighbors going forward. That's what the state of Oregon, Portland, and Multnomah County leaders have done and will continue to do as we respond to this crisis. That's what the people of Portland have done, representing the best of Portland to the whole nation as we continue to stand up for injustice. Thank you to all of you who have come out to protest the cruel and authoritarian actions of this administration while representing Portland's values. Keep showing up the way you have been. Keep raising your voices. Keep showing everyone who we are. Our neighbors and the literal crosshairs of this administration need your support now more than ever. Our solidarity is our strength. These are dark times. There's no getting around that. But I know that together we will persevere. Thank you. And now I would like to turn it over to Portland City Councilor Loretta Smith.
Good evening. My name is Loretta Smith, and I'm a counselor from District 1. I stand here with my other counselors, Counselor Candace Avalos and Jamie Dunphy. This situation just got real. This is not a PlayStation moment where you can shoot folks and they come back alive again. I live in that district. The struggle is already real for immigrants and refugees who live in our community, in our neighborhoods. And now I have to go home and tell my son and my 3 grandkids that they cannot stop for law enforcement because they're going to be afraid by looking at law enforcement that they might have the same thing happen to them that happened today. That is so unconscionable that just a day later, what happened in Minneapolis happening right here in Portland. This is very personal for me. And people who look like me, they shouldn't be afraid to walk around in their neighborhoods, walking to school in the morning with their kids. They should feel comfortable in their neighborhoods. And now we're disarmed now. We don't know who to trust. But I want to say here, I support the mayor, I support the governor in their efforts to do the things that we need to do to get ICE out of our state, in our city, in our neighborhoods. The harassment, the violence, the unconscionable walking around and infiltrating our communities as if we're some sort of third world country. It's not cool. And it's not something that we should support. I feel good, I feel strong standing next to my elected leaders and my community leaders behind me. We have to do whatever we need to do to make sure that ICE is no more.
I'd like to introduce Latino Network and Tony DeFalco.
Good evening. Tony DeFalco, Executive Director at Latino Network. We are hurting tonight in our community. We are tired of this violence in our community, and we're pissed off. Just last week, we buried one of our young people from gun violence, not less than a mile from this site at 148th and Burnside. This kind of violence is nothing new to our neighborhoods here in Portland and Multnomah County. And we've been working hard for decades to reduce this trend of gun violence by private individuals, but worse, by state-sponsored violence in our neighborhoods. And for this to happen tonight, in many ways, is not a surprise to us. It has been perpetrated upon us for many, many decades as part of routine operations to balance power against our community. So tonight, we have a few calls to action. One, we call on our state leadership to continue its efforts to minimize the role of federal authorities in our communities and to enact legislation in the short session that allows for private right to action, to sue, to enable our Attorney General and others to bring charges against the perpetrators of these violent acts, and to go even further to protect immigrant communities from this ongoing violence and oppression. Two, we desperately need investment in our community. We are picking up the pieces. 2 weeks ago, 2 mothers were taken from their families. In our community, the mothers are the glue that holds everything together. And by targeting mothers, they are trying to rip away the fabric of our very community. The ability to take care of our young people, to take care of entire families, and to match up breadwinners, resources that are coming in with the ability to get kids to school, get kids into preschool, is absolutely devastating to us. And we are desperately trying to fill the gaps by providing wraparound supports to our communities in the form of rent eviction prevention, food, other necessary things coming from these violent acts of detention and now physical violence. Those resources are not coming from our state yet. We need those resources to come from our state immediately. And last, we are gathering tonight to mourn this act of violence at Legacy Emmanuel Hospital, and we're asking all those that are watching or reading tonight to join us to honor all of those that have been impacted by these violent acts by our federal agencies over the last several months, and to know that we cannot be ripped apart. Despite these intentions of our federal government, we will continue to hold each other close and continue to be the strong fabric that our entire city, county, and state need from our Latina community. Thank you. Next up, Pastors Hennessy and Knutson.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to choose.
Go ahead. You lead. Come close. Come close.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Reverend Dr. J.W. Matt Hennessy, the pastor of the historic Vancouver Avenue First Baptist Church here in Portland, and also the leader of the Interfaith Peace and Action Collaborative. My friends, I echo very comments that have already been made, and I want to be clear about that. The comments of recognizing that the reason why federal agents are here is because of a false narrative in the first place. When people were told that Portland was on fire, Portland was burning. Portland is a great city, and it's a city I've been a member of for the last 37 years, and I'm not going to let anybody try to make it any worse. One thing's for sure, we have our issues, just like every city does, but we are determined to work together to make sure that we resolve the problems or issues or challenges we have, and we do not need help from the federal agencies to do in more. If they want to do anything, they should go back and restore the grant money that was there that we use to build bridges with police and community. They ought to be thinking about how we restore money to bridges like the Burnside Bridge and things of that nature. That's what we need. But until then, we're not going to let anybody take our joy. We're not going to let anybody cause us to be afraid. And I want the immigrant community, and specifically, as Tony just spoke about the Latinx community, we are with you. As faith leaders, as members of the Black community, I want you to know you are our brothers and sisters, and nobody is going to stop us, and nobody is going to break the chain of our belief in working together. So we will work together. Those who came before us and the allies who worked with them, they had worse situations going on, but nothing stopped them. And I end on the fact that I still recall that one of my favorite verses of We Shall Overcome is the verse that says, we are not afraid. We are not afraid, and we will not be made to fear. We are going to rise above it, reach out to one another, and do everything that we can to work together, pray together, protest together, peacefully together. And remember, let's not take the bait. We can do this peacefully, and peace and love always win.
Thank you, Dr. Hennessy, and to the mayor and the governor. Thanks for your leadership and all the elected leaders, Chief Day, and all our friends, Tony and the rest. My name is Reverend Dr. W.J. Mark Knutson, Senior Pastor, Augustana Lutheran Church, a church that declared sanctuary my first year there 30 years ago because people were facing deportation. We're in a lawsuit right now with the federal government, with Pacun, our church, a church in Florida, a large Catholic church in San Diego, and the Interfaith Council of San Francisco. It's moving now quickly in the courts. And the National Education Association has joined that as well. So around this country and this city and state, people are weaving together a movement built on nonviolent direct action to challenge what is into something that can be new. I do want to say to the press today, we celebrate your work. You're not fake, you do real news, and you are storytellers. There wouldn't have been a civil rights movement or a farm workers movement in the same manner without the press being there to cover it. So thank you, and know you're valued. Let me say this, my 1 minute's almost up. I followed a Baptist pastor, so I can take a little bit more time. But I want to say this, we're coming up on the King weekend. And a year ago, we backed our 30th King service back a week until this new administration came into office. Mayor, you came and spoke at that. And we packed the church. People were ready a year ago, January, to stand up and stand solidarity. Our prayers are number one with our immigrant siblings, the couple that's in trouble today. We have members from 23 countries. I don't know if that's not one of our members from Venezuela and his wife. It's going through all of our minds. Some of my colleagues say, you were crying. I was crying. We are all crying. We are so